One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Hi, everybody. I just got done with Varney and Company on Fox Business, and I'm going to be on Faulkner Focus sometime in the 11 a.m. hour. And as soon as I find that out, I'll put it up here on X or whichever platform you're seeing this on. But there's one main issue I'm looking out for today, and it's also going to be the subject of my column, which will hit later today. Which is the September 18th sentencing of Donald Trump. Now, two things are happening. We believe that Merchan, the judge, will announce today whether or not that date is going to be the date, because Donald Trump, when we got the Supreme Court ruling about official acts and immunity, he argued that this sentencing should be delayed regarding the so-called hush money verdict, and because it involved some of his time in office, etc. And Merchan said that he was taking that under advisement and would let people know if the September 18th date, because it is so close to the election, would stand or not. So now we've learned that, in fact, today he will make that announcement, whether or not it will happen. At the same time, yesterday, Trump filed an emergency motion, I believe, with one of the circuit courts, I think the second, to try to also stop this with the argument that it's due to the proximity to the election. So that, we're going to hear about that today. That's going to be the big news.
Meanwhile,
for sexually abusing and defaming the writer E. Jean Carroll. Nate Foy is live in New York City watching this case for us. And Nate, what you got? Good morning.
Well, Bill, just in the past minute, oral arguments started with lawyers for former President Donald Trump speaking first. Both Trump and E. Jean Carroll are inside the courthouse as their lawyers are given 10 minutes each to make their cases before a three-judge panel about what
she wrote a book and she made a ridiculous story up. She put it in her book, and we're now appealing the decision. We had an extremely hostile judge appointed by Clinton, very good friends of Clinton. I guess he presided over the marriage ceremony of one of the lawyers on the case against us, and it's very sad. Judge Lewis Kaplan, angry man. He was so angry. I went to the trial. I've been in a lot of litigation over the years. I've never seen such anger, or wanted to throw one of our attorneys in jail, who threatened her with jail. Nobody's ever seen anything like it over nothing. I've never seen such anger, but all of our judges, I mean, we had a brilliant judge, and I think a very fair judge in Florida. I think we have another judge who's very fair. I just ask for fair. I don't want anything different from anybody else. I just ask for fairness. We have another judge, or a couple of judges that I think are fair. Then we have other judges that I think the whole thing is, I think the system is a disgrace. The case that we met on today, and then we're going to talk about job numbers, which are horrible, by the way, horrible, like really bad. And you know that. I'm sure you won't report on it, but the job numbers are terrible. We're going to talk about the appeal today. We had a great appellate lawyer go down representing us, and I think John did a very good job. You have a matter of minutes to speak. It's a very complex thing because it was a setup or a rigged deal. They had two witnesses. And before I start, I have no idea who this woman is. They have a picture from, they say, about 40 years ago, a picture. And the picture depicts her and her husband on a celebrity line where I was the celebrity. I've been a celebrity for a long time. And they were shaking my hands along with hundreds of other people. Nobody even knows where it is. The problem is she doesn't know the date of this incident. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know, was it in the 90s? Could it have been further than that? She has no idea when. And people do that because you don't want to give a specific date, and then you find out that Trump or whoever it was in Europe. So they tend to do that. They take long periods so that this way, hopefully he was in New York at that time. But this is a disgraceful case, and disgraceful in particular because it's about a former president of the United States who is now leading in the polls to be the president again. And this is being worked with the DOJ, Department of Justice, as are all of these cases. They all come out. Atlanta, Fani, that is all Department of Justice. Nobody knew that. The case with Judge Engoron, the most overturned judge in the state, that is very close because they sent their team from the DOJ to help him. The district attorney, Alvin Bragg, that was all worked with. Again, they sent a top operative from the department, from the DOJ Department of, I call it the Department of Injustice, because they're using the Department of Justice to rig the campaign. Rig the campaign. These cases are disgraceful. Now, they're brought, for the most part, in front of very hostile areas where Republicans get 3 or 4%, like downtown Manhattan, in front of very hostile judges, like hostile like you wouldn't believe. Judge Merchan, Judge Engoron, and Judge Kaplan, all of them hostile areas and very, very hostile judges. I've never seen anything like it. And very bad thing in this case, New York, very bad thing for New York. Businesses won't come to New York because of what took place with Judge Engoron. I can tell you that. And probably the rest of them also. But this case involved a woman who wrote a book, and I guess she said something in the book. That's when I first heard about it. I first heard about it in the White House. And, of course, I denied the story because it's not true. I have no idea who the woman is, and I never met her. Now, I don't know about a picture that was taken 40 years ago with her husband on a celebrity line, so I don't think that counts. But as far as I know, I never met her. I never touched her. I would have had no interest in meeting her in any way, shape, or form. Her husband was a news anchor, actually, John Johnson, a very nice guy. She called him horrible things. We weren't allowed to say that. in the trial. She said horrible things about him. I guess they're since divorced. He's a very nice guy, African American, and she said very bad things. We weren't allowed to use that in the trial, which surprised a lot of people. But she made up a story, it fabricated 100%, that I attacked her at Bergdorf Goodman. You know, it's very interesting. I don't think they were allowed to use this either. Her favorite show is Law and Order. And there's a almost exact story as her story in Law and Order about being attacked in the dressing room of a department store. I don't know if they used the name of the store. But that's her favorite show, Law and Order. She said that. And anyway, this evolved into a defamation case against me because I disputed her words because I told the truth. We were called. I was in the White House, and I said, no, it never happened. I didn't even know what they were talking about. This was, I think I was in the Oval Office. Sir, do you know anything about this? And this had to do with a book, and she had a few pages in a book making this claim. By the way, there was never a claim. There was never a police report. There was never anything mentioned. There was never publicity 30 or 40 years ago, whenever it took place. Nobody knows. She doesn't know when it took place. When did it take place? She has no idea. She thinks it was in the 1990s. She thinks it was in the 1990s. And the judge, we had two trials. We asked for a consolidation. He said no. The reason he said no is he'd rather have double the publicity because that's bad for me. Very bad, because I'm running for president. And this is not the kind of publicity you like. And whether it's true or not, it's horrible. And in this case, it's so false. It's a made-up, fabricated story by somebody, I think, initially just looking to promote a book. And when they called me, I denied the story. I got sued essentially for defamation because I'm denying a story where I'm right. I should be suing her for defamation. So that's where it is. Now, there were two witnesses. One is a woman who's followed me for years. She said in 1979, I was in an airplane with her, commercial flight, and we became very intimate. I just sat down. I think I had the book, The Art of the Deal. I was famous then, too. I've been famous for a long time. And we're sitting in first class, according to her. Never happened, by the way. Totally made up story. She's a Clinton person, too, by the way. Big Clinton person. She made up the story. And so many years ago, and I think it would be 1979. One of my many people behind me could correct it, but I think she said 1979. That's a long time ago. And I sat down. I believe I had some pretty big success then, and I was being talked about a lot. Maybe The Art of the Deal was out, sometime after that. I'm not sure. But I was well known. And passengers are coming into the plane. And she said I was making out with her. And then, after 15 minutes, and then she changed her story a couple of times. Maybe it was quicker. That I grabbed her at a certain part, and that was when she had enough. Now, so think of the impracticality of this. I'm famous. I'm in a plane. People are coming into the plane. And I'm looking at a woman, and I grab her, and I start kissing her and making out with her. What are the chances of that happening? What are the chances? And frankly, I know you're going to say it's a terrible thing to say, but it couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. And she would not have been the chosen one. She would not have been the chosen one. She has gone around for years saying the story. Everywhere I go, she says this story. And it's a total lie. Now, I assume she'll sue me now for defamation like I got sued by E. Jean Carroll, who interestingly said she's been hurt, damaged, but she's made more money since she did this than she ever made in her life. She gets paid a lot of money to go talk bad things about me. So remember this whole thing started, along with just about every other case I'm involved with the political campaign of Harris, and who's having a bad time because she can't talk, of Harris and Joe Biden. This was election interference. It all is. It's all fabricated. But fabricated in front of very friendly judges for them and in very friendly areas for them. If you get a jury, it's very hard to win in a jury where you have 3 or 4 or 5% Republican votes. Very, very tough, actually. 2 witnesses. One is named Jessica Leeds, so she was up again. She can't get rid of her. She was up. She said, I was in an airplane doing that. A couple of things. You have an armrest in planes back in those days. Oh, by the way, she didn't know anything about the flight, where we were going. Where I was in very few flights. I was a New York guy building New York buildings. I was in very few airplanes, I will tell you, in those days. 1979, I think. It's a long time ago. But you had the armrest, and in the old days, they didn't move. Okay? But she said she then got out and she went to the back of the plane, and that was the end of the story, I think. And this story has followed me for years. But just to finish with her, Jessica Leeds, no police reports, no witnesses, no corroboration of any kind, no criminal suggestions, no nothing. Then you have another one, and this one is a writer for People magazine, who I actually thought was very nice. She came to Mar-a-Lago, and she wrote the most beautiful story you've ever seen. It was a love story about Melania and myself, a love story in People magazine. And that was it. It was a cover, I think, but it was a beautiful story. Everybody would love to have that marriage. She said the nicest things about me, about Melania. You have the story. I mean, you can read the story. And her name was whoever. Let's see. Her name was who? Swornoff, yeah. I don't have it. Whatever her name was. I don't know the lady, so perhaps it's much better that way, but I really don't know the lady. So she wrote this beautiful story, and about, I don't know, years later, no police reports, no anything. Years later, the same person they called up, did you attack at Mar-a-Lago this woman, this writer, whatever her name is? And she was a witness in a case. Her and Leeds were the 2 witnesses, only 2 witnesses. Did you attack her? I said, who is she? And they said, she writes for People magazine. I said, I don't know anything about the lady. I had a story long ago, years before, about People, but it was a very nice story. So I don't know. It has to be made up because I don't know what you're talking about. It turned out that the same lady that wrote this beautiful story years later said I attacked her. Now, think of this. Oh, and she said the butler knew everything. The old expression, the butler did it, right? Very famous in crime stories. Well, the butler was Tony Senecal, worked for me for a long time. He was retired at that time. That was years later he retired. He was retired when this hoax came out. And what happened is he totally confirmed my story, and he didn't even work for me anymore. He passed away a couple of years ago, a good man. He said, the woman was crazy. It never happened. I was the one that served her whatever she was drinking, and I was there, and nothing ever happened. But you don't need the butler. All you have to do is read the story. Think of this. A woman comes into Mar-a-Lago, interviews me about a love story about my wife and myself. And during that interview, I attacked her and pushed her up against the wall violently. Okay? And then she leaves and she writes a perfect story. perfect story. She doesn't mention the event. Again, there's nothing on file at all. Zero. There was no complaints. There were no complaints to People magazine. There was no witness. There was nothing. Yeah, well, there was a witness, the butler, and he's already said everything. He's already told the story. Because this story, likewise, like Leeds, this story has followed me around. I could go through many other stories outside of this. You know, it's very funny. When you're rich and famous, you get a lot of people come up with a lot of stories. But you're writers, and some of you are legitimate writers, and some of you aren't. Some of you are fake news, and some of you are real news. But put yourself in my position. I'm running for president, and I have all these cases all of a sudden come out. And they're fake cases, and they report back to DOJ. And you have Lisa Monaco, one of the people at DOJ who I saw the other day talking about the Russia hoax. And yet she's friends with Andrew Weissman and that whole group and crew, who should be sued, by the way, because they're not a charity. All they are is a political organization that goes after Trump for the last 8 years. I mean, he's a sick person that runs that, too. But Lisa Monaco is in the Department of Justice, but she's a Andrew Weissman person who's been after me for years. So far, he's failed. And he's having a heart attack because I'm leading in the polls, I guess. If you look at the Nate Silver, very respected guy. I don't know him, but he has me up by a lot. So let's say we're leading, or let's say we're tied, or let's say what difference. I'm in the race. It's between two people, but I think we're leading by a lot because the opponent refuses to do an interview because she can't talk. And they're not going to skate through it. I'm not going to have a Marxist president. The people are getting it. So we go down to court today to talk about this case is a scam. And all I can say is that I never met the woman other than this picture, which could have been AI generated. I don't know. Showed up out of nowhere, but it's fine. Nice picture with her husband, and lots of other people are online. It's a celebrity line. But never met her, never touched her, never had anything to do with her. The other thing is I was very famous then. If I would have walked into Bergdorf Goodman, the department store that she said, everybody would have said, oh, there's Trump. And it would have been, at that time, on page 6. Page 6 was the equivalent of today's internet. And it would have been a big story if I would have walked into that store, gone into a dressing room, and supposedly you know what to her. Never happened. Never happened. Total phony story. And I feel sad that I have to come up here and explain it. I have all this legal talent, but legal talent cannot overcome rigged judges. They can't overcome a 4% Republican area. And I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you. They're good. They're good people. They're talented people. Today at the trial, they didn't mention the dress. So the Monica Lewinsky type dress was a big part of the trial. Big part of the trial. I said, why didn't you mention that? And I heard there was a dress involved. And I wasn't frightened at all because I did nothing with her. Never touched this woman, saw this woman, had no idea who she was. But they have a dress, sir. I said, so what? Well, sir, it's very... They used that dress to try and intimidate me. They used that dress with the public. That dress was such a famous dress. It was Monica Lewinsky, part 2, the dress. And the judge wanted it for trial. And it was going to go into trial. And then they found out there was nothing on the dress, which I knew. And then the judge wouldn't allow it to be used. So they used it as a cudgel. They used it as a hammer over my head. And then the judge, when he heard that it showed totally negative, the judge wouldn't allow us to use it at trial. Then there was an Anderson Cooper interview where she said essentially, no, he didn't rape me. She was selling her book. She wrote a book. The book would have been a total failure, probably was anyway, although probably sold more recently. Again, this is a woman that wasn't doing well until she came out with this stuff about me. And that's happened to others too, by the way. She's not the only one. But they have the Anderson Cooper tape. And in the Anderson Cooper tape, it's an interview of her. And Cooper says something to the effect, did he rape you? Did he rape you? He was so happy. Oh, did he rape you? And she gave a very good answer for me, but a bad answer for CNN, for Anderson. And he said, we're going to commercial break right now. We're going. Then she came back from commercial break, and she was much more hostile. But this man wouldn't let us use the tape or the proper questions having to do with the tape. Wouldn't let us. The Judge Kaplan wouldn't let it be used. We wanted to get the outtakes. In other words, what did Anderson Cooper talk to her about during that intermission for a commercial that he called for immediately? Where do you see this? I mean, some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. We're going to commercial break right now. And so what happened is we weren't able to use it. The other thing is we had not one trial, we had two trials. Nobody understands why. We asked for a consolidation. And I wanted to show up to the trial, to the first trial. My lawyer, who's not up here, not with us any longer, sir, you should not show up. You're the former president or the president. I don't even know when the trial was, but you're the president of the United States, sir. This is beneath you. I've got this 100%. The dress is negative, but he wasn't able to use it. Sir, it's beneath you to show up. I said, but wouldn't that be bad for a jury? Wouldn't that be sort of bad for a jury if I don't show up? He said, sir, you don't have to show up. I've got this. You shouldn't do it. It's beneath you. It's beneath the office of the president. I understood what he meant by that. And so I didn't show up. And I was found guilty of something that I didn't do with a woman that I have never seen, touched, or in any way was involved with, nor would I want to be. I would not want to be. My people say, please don't say that. I would not want to be involved with her. And that's where we are. So we're appealing it, and people would say it's not a friendly panel based on the appointments, but you'll look that up yourself. But I hope they understand this is the office of the President of the United States, and there has to be fairness shown. Our court system is looking so bad. If you're a Democrat, these are all Democrat-appointed people. Biden, Clinton, I think others. 3 people. They seem very good today, and I mean, they seem absolutely fine, but I've read and I've heard it's not a friendly panel, but I wasn't surprised because I don't get friendly panels. I don't get friendly panels. But where we've had fair judges, where we've had brilliant judges, frankly, I don't know the judge in Florida, Judge Cannon, don't know her at all. But I think she's a brilliant woman. I think she handled a scam. It's a scam case. That's the documents case. That's the case where Biden, who had 10 times more documents, took all this stuff for years, 50 years, and he was exonerated. Of course, they said he was incompetent, so he wasn't fit. So he was exonerated based on that. But me, I don't get exonerated so easily. And I had a thing called the Presidential Records Act, which exonerates me. But we won that trial, and the other side plays the ref. Crew and Weissman and all these people. And again, Lisa Monaco should not be involved in this because she's been after Trump for years, and now she's like the second person at the DOJ. but she's with all these people. And they're playing the ref, and they say terrible things about judges. They do it with the Supreme Court justices because they think they're going to intimidate them. I think it should be illegal. That's what the DOJ should look into, the legality of these people taking a brilliant judge and demeaning her, and taking other people that are fair and solid and demeaning them. It's called playing the ref. Nobody did it better than the late, great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He would scream at those refs and everything and they'd say, Bobby, you're not going to get the decision overturned. Yep, but the next one I will. And he was right. He was a great basketball coach. Last coach to have an undefeated season. Last coach in basketball to have it many years ago. He also endorsed me, but he played the ref. These people are playing the ref when they are allowed to call for recusal, impeachment of a judge because they're not getting their way. And for some reason, the other side doesn't do that. They don't do that. The other side is much softer. Republicans play it a lot softer, but they play it legitimately. So I'm going to ask, if I might, Will Scharf to come up, just say a couple of words about what took place today. One of our attorneys working on this it's a ridiculous case. Remember, it never happened. It was made up for political reasons. And the DOJ is behind everything. Every one of these cases. It's political interference. It's a witch hunt, just like the fake Russia scam was a witch hunt. And just like they want to start that scam all over again by announcing that Russia we're talking about. And you know what they do when they do that? They intimidate people from having a fair election. They intimidate poll workers from speaking up when they see crooked things take place in the election. And it's a disgrace. Our country's in serious trouble. Our judicial system is in very serious trouble. Will, please come up. Thank you.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Will Scharf. I'm one of President Trump's attorneys. Today, we presented oral argument before the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in one of two cases brought against President Trump by E. Jean Carroll. Now, it's really important to remember that E. Jean Carroll's story at its heart is an utterly implausible he said, she said story. There is no corroboration for anything she has ever claimed about President Trump. There are no corroborating witnesses. As President Trump alluded to, there is not confirmatory DNA. No police report was filed at the time of this alleged incident. She was unable to identify when this incident occurred until quite recently. No surveillance evidence or witnesses have ever been found or come forward confirming any aspect of E. Jean Carroll's story. In light of that, in light of the utter implausibility of the story that E. Jean Carroll was attempting to sell to the jury in this case, her attorneys introduced evidence that should have never seen the inside of a courtroom. Utterly insane efforts to introduce propensity witnesses, Jessica Leeds and Natasha Stoynoff, most notably, in an unfair and improper effort to buttress E. Jean Carroll's failed attempt to assault President Trump. Jessica Leeds' story is instructive here. This is a woman who claims that in the middle of a crowded airliner in 1979, President Trump assaulted her. Leeds has never been able to identify where this plane departed from, where it went to, the date of the flight in question, making our efforts to disprove her testimony extremely difficult. Under the federal rules of evidence, this story should have never been allowed to be presented to the jury in this case. The same is true of Natasha Stoynoff's story, which again lacks any indicia of reliability, any sort of credibility, any sort of confirmatory testimony from other witnesses, or anything else that would make you believe that this actually happened. So on the one hand, you have a judge who allowed in this improper propensity evidence that should not have been allowed in. In our view, that polluted the jury's deliberations in this case. That presented a story to the jury of a series of a pattern of conduct that the jury should not have been considering. And we think that absent that propensity evidence, no fair jury could have reached the verdict that was reached in this case. And as a result, we believe that this verdict needs to be overturned. But there's more than that. In addition to this improper propensity evidence, President Trump and his trial team were prevented from cross-examining E. Jean Carroll and other witnesses on crucial issues in particular relating to political coordination and the political motivation behind this entire lawsuit. This is a lawsuit that was instigated in large part by George Conway, a longtime political foe and adversary of President Trump. This is a lawsuit that was funded by Reid Hoffman, a key political ally of the Biden-Harris administration and a major Democrat donor. We were limited in the evidence we were allowed to present at trial about these crucial facts. We were prevented from cross-examining E. Jean Carroll on aspects of that dynamic that underlies this entire lawsuit. And that, too, unfairly corrupted the jury's deliberations in this case and requires reversal of the jury verdict. I think this political coordination point is particularly important, though. It's important to emphasize, because what we have seen in the last few years is a weaponization by the Biden administration and by their political allies of our legal system and of our courts to unlawfully, unconstitutionally interfere with President Trump's core First Amendment right to run for president. That is a right guaranteed to him by the Constitution. That is the right that his political opponents are attempting to strip away from him. We have seen this in case after case after case where unfair political motives have underlay what should be serious legal proceedings. And I think when you look at this situation in toto, when you look at what the left, when you look at what the Biden-Harris administration is attempting to do to President Trump, this is insane. This is an absolute abuse of our legal system. It's an absolute abuse of the rule of law. It should be deeply offensive, not just to political supporters of President Trump, but to each and every American. With respect to today's appeal, we are hopeful that the Second Circuit understands what's at stake here. We are hopeful that the Second Circuit understands what occurred during this trial, which was an improper use of evidence to buttress E. Jean Carroll's entirely meritless claims on the one hand, and an improper exclusion of evidence that would have informed the jury about the true motivation behind this lawsuit and that we believe would have resulted in a very different verdict. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I've done this one too many times, actually too many times for the last 3.5 years while President Trump has been trying to fight to get this country back. And I want to speak to the American women, and I want to speak to the people that need to get out and vote on November 5th. I have sat with President Trump for years now, while he has been targeted with lies and with judges, AGs, and DAs who have specifically run in this city and others on getting Trump. The Trump administration will fix this problem. We will stop Kamala Harris's regime, because she was there, let's not forget that, and she still is, of using officials from the White House, putting them in DA's offices, in AG's offices, and attacking your political opponent. And this country deserves better than this. We do. We should not be sitting here at a press conference talking about this. We did this in 2016, and every woman had no reports. They come out when it's election time. And as a woman who has stood with President Trump, who has spent extensive time with President Trump and with his beautiful family, I will tell you, that is not President Trump, and I completely am disgusted by what I have seen happen to this person, his family, and the Trump organization that we stand in right now. You must vote Donald Trump back in, because as an attorney, as a woman, as a mother, our future of this country depends on it, and we need to stop this from happening. The DOJ is supposed to help our country and protect us, not attack us, because you cannot win in the polls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. And just in finishing this, we have numerous other trials that are also very much in coordination with the DOJ. They actually took just about their top person and they put him into the offices of the Attorney General of New York, and then also the office of the DA Bragg's office, to make sure the case is brought viciously against their political opponent. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Businesses will not come to New York because of it. They actually, in the case of Engoron, They used a consumer frauds case, never used before for a thing like this. And not only were my numbers correct, and again, this was a generality. All you need is a general, but I had really good numbers, but they were very conservative, very much on the low side. And the judge knew that. And the judge ruled a fine against me, the likes of which has never even been heard of. Businesses will never come to this state as long as that is able to be held up. Because we won that trial so conclusively. We had an expert witness said that President Trump's financial, this was an expert witness from the Stern School of Business, one of the most highly respected people in the country as an expert witness. He said, to the best of my remembering, it's a big statement, but he said, this is perhaps the best financial statement I've ever seen. But the judge made me pay like a $400 million fine. This is a consumer fraud statement. Think of it. Consumer frauds case that they made it in. The judge refused to give it over to the commercial division where they could understand things, and they would have dismissed it immediately because this case had no merit whatsoever. The judge wanted to settle the case for a very much smaller amount, and I said, I'm not going to settle. I didn't do anything wrong. But he would have settled the case for a much smaller amount. He wanted to settle it for a much more. We had numerous meetings in his office for a fraction of the number that he gave. That was one of the interesting things. I figured that the worst that you could do is what he wanted to settle for, which was a very small number by comparison. And then he just came out with this number. This was a coordination with the DOJ. And the other case that you know about and you've been hearing about, which is same kind of a thing, also in coordination, is the Bragg case. And they actually wanted to put them together in New York. They wanted to put the DA case together with the Attorney General case, but they both wanted credit. They couldn't understand, they both wanted credit, so they had their own cases. And it's very corrupt in New York, and very, very corrupt. It's a very corrupt place and doing very badly. But when people see what happened, and when they see, I've had so many calls from business people saying, this is just terrible. Today, there was a story about somebody in Southern District who's highly respected, knocking the hell out of both of those cases, say it's an embarrassment they were allowed to be brought. And I'm going to write out a list of things from Alan Dershowitz, Andrew McCarthy, Greg Jarrett, some of the greatest people, all legal scholars, great people, Jonathan Turley, like 10 highly respected, the most highly respected people that quote Calabrese, Judge Calabrese, that quote on cases. And shockingly, they can't even believe it. They said this case should not have been allowed to be brought. And that's about pretty much both cases, but it's about the case that we have in front of Judge Mershon. That case is a disgrace. Should have never been allowed. I did nothing wrong. And he took a non-existent, expired, long expired by the statute of limitations, misdemeanor. He made it into 34 or something more than that counts of felony. Nobody can even believe it. Over nothing. And if you look at that case, he wouldn't allow it. That whole thing was done by an attorney. I had nothing to do with it. That was done by an attorney, a sleazebag named Michael Cohen. And he did the whole thing. And you're allowed to have reliance on attorney. It's called reliance on attorney. You have a reliance on attorney. Attorney's allowed to do things. And all it was is a non-disclosure agreement with somebody that said nothing happened, by the way. I might add that. If you don't mind, I'll add that. We have a statement, nothing happened. And he got a non-disclosure agreement. He did it on his own, and this judge refused to allow us to use that as a defense. the attorney-client defense, which is very standard. Other people have never heard that you're not allowed to use it. But he's the one that did it because I was running for president and running the country. He's the one that did it. So all of these cases are a disgrace. But the case that we had today downtown, I wish we could have mentioned the dress. Again, got the idea from Monica Lewinsky, but it was negative, wasn't allowed to be used. I wish we could have mentioned many of the other things, and I certainly wish we could have gone to CNN and got the outtakes, what's called the outtakes. What did Anderson Cooper tell her during the commercial? I'd love to find that out. So that's where we are. We have a very corrupt system of laws, but in that system we have some very good judges also, and I think in the end the good judges will prevail. And I hope Democrat-appointed judges can see a scam like this where somebody just makes up a story, probably out of Law and Order. I don't know. She made it up out of somewhere. But check out the Law and Order episode that we're talking about. Make up a story, and I end up getting sued. And by the way, the punishment is like $89 million and wouldn't have two cases. It should have been one case. But two cases is better because you get double bad publicity. We asked the judge, could you consolidate the cases? Same case. And he refused to do so. He wanted two cases. So two cases, two sets of lawyers, two everything. It's really, really very disgraceful. Let me talk about job numbers because, as you know, they just came out and they're a basic disaster. They are really bad. You had numbers that are shocking. Native-born Americans, we lost 1.3 million jobs, while foreign-born Americans were able to take all of those jobs. So foreigners coming in illegally, largely illegally, into our country, took the jobs of native-born Americans. And I've been telling you that's what's going to happen. Because we have millions and millions of people pouring into our country, many from prisons and jails and mental institutions and insane asylums. Traffickers, human traffickers, women traffickers, sex traffickers, which, by the way, that's the kind of thing that people should be looking at because it's horrible. And it's turning out that migrant crime is far worse than any crime that we've ever experienced. If you look at Aurora, Colorado, they're taking over the place. They took over buildings, and this is just the beginning. You haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen any. They've allowed well over 20 million people, in my opinion. The other people say, well, it's only 13. No. It's much more than 20. I think it's much more than 20. Our country is being invaded because of incompetent people like Kamala that doesn't want to do one interview. She does one softball interview with CNN. Couldn't have been nicer. Dana Bash, you know what? I gained respect for Dana Bash and for Jake Tapper because in my interview with Sleepy Joe, I thought they were very fair, actually. I was surprised. They were very fair. I'm going into very hostile territory shortly on a debate with ABC, George Slopadopoulos and that group. And ABC, I think, is the worst of everybody. I think they're the worst. They're the nastiest. They're as bad as you can be. They're worse than NBC, which is saying a lot. And we have something coming. And the reason I'm doing it is because that's the only one that she would do it with, because her best friend is the head of ABC or ABC News, and her husband's best friend is married to that one. So, and Donna Brazile is there. You remember the famous Donna Brazile? She gave Hillary Clinton the questions. You remember that? That was a little embarrassing. She got fired, I assume, for that. But now she's working at ABC. So I said, I'll do it anyway, because even if she knows the answers and knows the questions, I don't think she'll be very good. And this is not what our country wants. And I feel I have an obligation to do it. And she'd never stand up here like this and give a news conference and speak about what's happening with the weaponization of our justice system. This is the weaponization of justice, at a level that nobody's ever seen in this country before. We've never seen it. You see it in third world countries, you see it in banana republics, but you don't see it in the United States of America, and it's a very sad thing. And I think I'm doing a great service by having gone through it and revealing it, because, you know, it came out with a indictment from the district attorney, which again, just revealed today, and I hope you're going to do a story because it's a big story. The Southern District of New York was, and this is a very highly respected group of people. He said it was a disgrace that that case was brought. It was a disgrace that the case was brought in front of Mershon. The case is a disgrace. Should have never been brought. Should have never been brought. And the case in front of Judge Engoron, just in terms of the case itself, we had 4 or 5 overturns in the appellate division. I only hope the appellate division, for the good of New York, otherwise you just say, God save the state. For the good of New York, I hope that the appellate division will do what's right on that case, because that case was a scam. But every single one of these cases that I'm mentioning, they're all hoaxes and scams. No different than Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 the impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, all these things that we won. We won them all. But it takes time, it takes effort. And they're at it again. But this time, what they're doing is they're hitting us as hard as possible. You know, it's very interesting. It just brings to light the lawyer on the hoax that we're talking about now, having to do with E. Jean Carroll. She said, the way to defeat Trump is go after him civilly as often as possible, make his life miserable, sue him all the time, keep him in court, and let him spend a fortune. That's the lawyer I have in the E. Jean Carroll case. And that's exactly what they've done. The only thing I can say that's good about it is the public understands. And my poll numbers, I believe, are higher now than they would have been without it, because the public understands it's a hoax, it's a scam, it's a political witch hunt, and some of you should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so you saw Trump actually come on early for once. That's because the hearing that he was at wrapped up early so he could get on the microphone early. He was supposed to schedule to talk at 12. He jumped on at about 11:45, spoke for about 45 minutes and detailed a bunch of the things that are going on against him. So just to answer a few questions I saw in the chat, yes, that was live. That just happened, as Will Ferrell said. That just happened right there. And then he's going to get on a plane right now, fly to Charlotte, and he's going to have a speech in front of the Fraternal Order of Police, which I will be covering at about 2:30. That's going to happen, or 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then tonight, tune in at 7 p.m. as I go over my polling data show. So I wanted to go over a couple things with you as I was watching the chat, and people were asking, what was this all about? Well, this particular press conference was the culmination of about 3 cases that all had their appeals and stuff start imminently, right about now. They just wanted to cram all these appeals together. The first one that the appellate court was looking at was the lawsuit filed by E. Jean Carroll. E. Jean Carroll was the woman he was talking about, who said that sometime ago, that I don't know where, don't know how, can't describe anything, but yeah, he did it to me. And you don't remember anything? No, but I can tell you he did it. And they stacked the deck against him, as Democrats do. They went ahead, and it's not a criminal. This one wasn't criminal. This one was civil. They found against him. So it wasn't like it's a conviction, but they found him liable and also they charged him with defamation for saying the stuff that he said in regards to saying she's ugly and everything else. They went ahead then and gave her just this amazing judgment, which I can show you right now. Let me bring that up. And this is what he's appealing. It's not a conviction. There's no jail time associated with this. This was solely to basically take his money. Let me see if I can fit it in here. So today was, hold on, let me do it this way. Okay. And then I can shrink it somewhat and bring it over here. All right. Trump attended the arguments this morning. Where'd it go? Trump attended the arguments this morning on his appeal of the $5 million judgment for E. Jean Carroll. That's what this was about today. However, it's not just $5 million. It's a lot more than that, which I will show you. So let's go down here. It says today, Donald Trump attended arguments in federal appeals court in New York today as he seeks to erase a $5 million judgment, finding him liable, not convicted, liable for doing that to defaming the writer E. Jean Carroll. He attended the hearing, which lasted all of 22 minutes, which is why he came on early, after foregoing a crucial hearing Thursday in Washington, D.C. Trump's decision to attend brought a spotlight to the case in which the jury concluded that he likely did the duty just as his presidential campaign enters the final sprint to the election. The case is one of two. One was doing the deed, and then the second one was punitive, where they basically went after him for defaming her when he said she was ugly and everything else. They ordered $83 million on that second case. As you can see down here, he attended the second trial, which ended in $83 million judgment in January. So he's got $5 million that they're going after him for because he did the deal, according to what she said. I can't use those words. And then $83 million for calling her ugly. In the May 2023 trial, jurors heard evidence related to... Now, let me rephrase that. In that trial, jurors heard evidence that the judge wanted them to hear, because that's exactly what happened, related to Carroll's allegation that in the mid-1990s, Trump did something to her in a department store dressing room and defamed her after she went public with the story. Trump didn't attend any of that initial trial and later faulted his lawyers for advising him to stay away. So that's what he was appealing today. I don't want to have to pay this woman $88 million for something that didn't happen. Just didn't happen. So as he was talking, he was referring to basically rules of procedure that were broken, blatantly broken. The judge allowed the prosecution, well, I can't call him prosecution because it wasn't a criminal case, but the lawyers for the client who said that he did this and he did that, and here's my witnesses, and here's this woman, and here's that woman, none of whom knew Trump, met Trump, understood who he was, couldn't name any of the airplane time that they supposedly met. And as you know from being around a celebrity, people take pictures all the time. I've got pictures with many celebrities. Doesn't mean they remember who the heck I was, because people are like, hey, take a picture with me. Yeah, now people are like, I'm not taking a picture with you because you're going to say I did something. Anyway, he took a picture with her, and she said, yeah, E. Jean Carroll did do this. And it just, at the time, Trump, which is called exculpatory evidence, they tried to say, okay, I've got some evidence that shows this never happened. The judge said, no, basically he squashed their entire defense in front of a jury who only heard one side of the story. And over and over and over, his attorneys would say, hey, listen, I got to enter this into evidence. Nope, can't do it. And then, of course, because they didn't allow him to defend himself, couldn't even cross-examine her, they only heard one side of the story, and boom, he got hit with a $5 million liability judgment and $88 million defamation judgment. 83, which came up to $88 million. That's what he's appealing today. So he was recanting the story recalling the story for everybody in the audience. A lot of you have never even heard this thing. And that's why I see in the comments come through and people are like, are you serious? What is this? Did it just happen? Nope, they sued him and they got $88 million against him. So now he's appealing it. It took this long since January for the appeal to come up in court. And then from here, once they judge, then he could take it to the Supreme Court. But the wheels of justice turn very, very slow, and it's being used against him. That was the first one. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is Judge Merchant and that ridiculous conviction that he's trying to get overturned or at least pushed out. And a lot more has been coming out about this conviction. When he referred to the Department of Justice attorney in the undercover video, he didn't say, I don't think he said Steven Crowder's name, but there's a video that's been posted on Twitter. I'm trying to see if I can get away with showing it. But in that video, if you guys want to search Steven Crowder undercover video, you'll be able to see it. In that video, there's a high-ranking official from the Department of Justice who basically says this was about taking him down politically. You can't get more election interference except hearing from somebody in the DOJ admitting it on tape. That is absolutely jaw-dropping. It should make this entire thing go away. That's the judge, what's his name, Jack Smith case. Judge Merchant, you can't hear much about it because he still has a gag order. And he's due to be sentenced, on the 18th. So we're waiting to hear if that is going to go forward. That hasn't been released yet. It may be released imminently, any minute now, whether or not they're going to try and go forward in sentencing Donald Trump on the 18th. So all of this isn't by accident that it's happening right now. You have to understand that as an adult with a functioning cortical vortex, that if you have a brain that's working, you can realize and see at this point that this is all election interference and what they're trying to do. She's got a debate on the 10th. She's falling in the polls. They're scratching like this on a chalkboard. Everything you're seeing right now, all of it being played out, is simply because of what's going on in this election. The numbers, she's cratering, absolutely cratering. And they know it. They can't stop it because they can't stop you. They can't stop you from understanding that this is all BS. And so in addition to all these court cases, what's the other thing they come up with? Russia, 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 Russia. And the lathering fools on the left all run with it like it's really some big story. I can't even imagine how programmed these people are that they buy the same crap over and over and over again. We've been hearing about Russia, Russia, Russia forever. And here we go again. The Department of Justice, oh, Russia's trying to interfere. Give it a break, bro. It's ridiculous. So now that comes into play. Then a new story just dropped. Let me see if I can pull this one up. You're going to be pissed off because at this point, and this is from Forbes. Let me see if I can, so you can see the label. You can't see the label, but this is in Forbes this morning. Forbes is not like by any stretch of the imagination a Donald Trump oriented website, paper. Jack Smith and the Department of Justice have spent more than $35 million of your money trying to take down Trump. Let that sink in. They're going after this guy so hard that they have spent $35 million trying to put him in jail on that one case. Imagine how much, if you took all these cases together, how much they have spent. Man hours, money, resources, time. When they could actually be going after some stuff that actually matters, they've probably spent collectively $50, $90 million just to try and get Trump. And in this one case, they've spent $35 million trying to prosecute Trump. Not my words, right there in print from Forbes. You think about that. That's insane. All of this in an election year, no doubt. So it's absolutely crazy what's going on here. Why didn't our GOP Congress defund them? That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't have the answer for that, but I think I do. I think there are many, many, many people on the right who fear Donald Trump just like the people on the left do. They don't want him in office. He's messing up the gig here. Man, this has been a nice, fat, happy life I've lived here. I'm getting money from these different governments and different things. You know what's funny? You know, this whole Russia thing dropped yesterday, and I just watched people scream bloody murder because they even dared to name Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, was it Dave Rubin, a couple other people, even though in the document they said, hey, listen, they were deceived. It didn't matter. I told you it wouldn't matter. I told you that's what would happen. I told you just by mentioning these guys, they would be attacked mercilessly. But did you know they were attacked by people on the right as well? Even though the document said, hey, listen, they didn't know. The DOJ knew what they were doing. They knew by even attaching their names to this thing, even by just saying that they took money, was going to cause people to get pissed off and start calling them out. People on the left, we're calling them Ruskies. People on the right, we're calling them sellouts for taking the money. Meanwhile, every single one of these broadcast networks gets investments from every other country in the world. They don't talk about that. Young Turks doesn't talk about getting money from Qatar. You don't know who the investors are in Comcast, who owns MSNBC. How about the investors in CNN? What countries are they from? The media world is full of snakes and rats and trash. It's because they are beholden to dollars instead of what's true. And I'm not saying that whatsoever about Benny or Tim Pool or David Rubin whatsoever. What I am saying is the pot shouldn't call the kettle black. It makes it seem nice when MSNBC can go point at people and say, oh, you guys took money. Well, who's paying you? What do your books look like? Why is the DOJ not questioning that you've gotten big investors from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and this and that and every other country, China? You don't think China's invested in our news networks? Come on, don't be silly. Don't be silly. You just don't hear it. Nobody talks about it. So, of course, with Kamala running for president, now they want to say that all the influencers who are taking eyeballs away from these networks, oh, they're taking money from people. As I said yesterday, not me. It ain't like it's bad. I don't care. But I knew that this stuff would come. People have approached me all the time. Ashley, who's my daughter, who was in the chat earlier, she sees the emails. Hey, Barry, you want to do this? Hey, Barry, you want to do this? Nope. No, thank you. I know who my core audience is. I know what could work with my audience. You know, we're going to talk to somebody who does a prepper supply stuff because my audience could work there. But I'm not taking money from any company, any company or any entity that I don't know where that money is coming from. It's too easy. People heard the numbers that, you know, Benny and Tim and we're getting $100,000 per video. Okay, so they've got 2 million subscribers. Fine. You check out where the money that Kim Kardashian was getting for her gazillion followers. Does anybody have a problem that she's being pitched by Maybelline and this company and that company and gets, $100,000 a tweet or Instagram post? That is the business of the media. There's a reason why these people make tens of millions of dollars to stare into a teleprompter and lie to you. Because they're getting paid. And then CNN just brings back one of the biggest liars they ever had on their platform, Brian Stelter, and bringing him right back. He's already been found out to be a liar. Confirmed. There's video everywhere, blah, 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 of him saying stuff that's not true. He is one of the chief misinformationalists out there. But nobody says anything about that because it's CNN. Meanwhile, they want to crucify Benny, Dave Rubin, and Tim Pool. And I'm sure they're not done. Just as I'm sure going into October, that they're not done dropping bombs on Donald Trump. Before Ashley had to leave, she had left me a message on my phone. She goes, people are asking what they can do. What you can do simply is to vote. It is too late at this point to create some sort of, group to do anything in mass. It's coming on early September. We got to be at the polls in less than 60 days. But you got to vote. You got to keep talking. You got to talk to your neighbors. You got to talk to your coworkers. Hopefully your family's on board and understand this is probably the last stand. This is probably going to be it. You're seeing what they're throwing at this guy. If they're throwing this at Trump just to get him to shut up, you see they're attacking Elon. If they're attacking billionaires and trying their best to take them down, if they're spending $35 million to put Trump in court, you and I don't stand a chance. I'm telling you that right now. So if you want the big dogs to be taken down, then understand it's going to be you next, or me. And people say on the left, well, if you don't have anything to hide, then you don't have anything to worry about. Spoken like someone who's got nothing. You don't have to have anything to hide. You don't have anything to worry about. Except them taking your bank account, suing you to oblivion, making you have to hire lawyers that you can no longer afford. And then when you're looking at a zero in your bank account and they're still not done with you, because now they're like, okay, now we've taken every dime he has. Now let's go ahead and threaten his wife and his kids and everything else. And so when you say, there's nothing they can take from me, oh, you are far from mistaken. Far, far, far from mistaken. Because what happens today dictates what happens to you years from now. Years from now. So get out there and vote early. Yes, vote early. Do what you need to do. We got to support Trump and what he's looking at doing, because what you're seeing, dismantle the corrupt FBI, what you're seeing is a rat or a group of rats in a corner. Maybe they got their tail already snapped on. They can see it. They're terrified. And these rats are trying to nip at you every possible way. And so tonight at 7 p.m., I'm going to do a different kind of polling show, because at this point, there's really not a whole lot to look at the polls because they're lying. But the data that has been coming out, he touched on the jobs report. If you guys haven't seen these jobs numbers, you are going to be screaming at 7 p.m. You will lose your mind when you see what's actually happening in our financial markets. And then you're going to say to yourself, with all of this happening that everybody can see, how possibly can this woman even be close to him in the polls? With one after the other, things are beginning to stack against her in a huge way, and your pollsters want you to believe, oh, it's just a couple points here or there. She's ahead too, and he's ahead too. And I'm like, bullshit, excuse my language. There is no way a majority of Americans are looking at what we're looking at happen on a daily basis, where the lies are proven to be true within 24 to 48 hours. Remember, just a couple days ago, the government in Colorado and the federal government were saying that the takeover of these apartment complexes was a lie. It wasn't happening. The news didn't even want to cover it. It's fabrication. It's those right-wing nut jobs. Oh, what happened? Yeah, now, days later, the news is like, well, yeah, it's happening. Some news still won't even cover it. I covered it. I'm going to continue to cover it. I called them the Tres Leches, but last time a couple Cuban people got pissed off at me, so I won't call it Tres Leches anymore. But the Trey nut jobs are taking over these apartment complexes, and they're moving from city to city, and it's happening, and it's like they don't want you to know about it. Why don't they want you to know about it? Are these people being installed and basically being told where to go and how to be activated, when to be activated? Are they coming to a city near you? Are you going to have help if you pick up the phone? How many people have talked to the people in Aurora, Colorado to hear the story? Like, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not coming. There's too much happening too fast at this point for it not to be intentional in my mind, in my opinion. There's too much. Every single day. And it's funny, Robin had to go out this morning, and she's like, you have a show early? I'm like, yeah, he's doing an emergency press conference. She's like, what happened? And then he's got this other thing at 2 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, I'm going to do my polling stuff. And it's like, stuff just keeps happening. If you aren't on Twitter, get on Twitter. Follow me at Barry Cunningham. But it's amazing how much stuff just keeps happening. It just gets dumped. And they hope you don't see it. Thank God for Elon Musk. I'm telling you right now, if Elon Musk did not buy that network, you would be in the dark, and it would be basically over at this point. It's over, because you would never hear it. The other networks would just shut up. I say follow the money trail. Yeah, and sometimes that's very, very hard to do. Start locking my doors at night. Exactly. Trump must win to save America. That's how I feel. They are rats. I have family in Fort Lauderdale who would love to see you. Well, send me an email. Downvoting for cheap clickbaiting. Huh? What? See what I mean? See what I mean? These bots, these idiots out there, have no idea what's about to happen to their life because they probably don't have a life. Think about it. If you're sitting here and you think this is clickbaiting, if you think that it's not true, you must be one of the people being paid to say these things. There is no way with the information available to somebody right now where you can't verify exactly what's going on. You don't have to. People who have been here before understand. I say it all the time. Do your homework. Don't take what I or anybody else has to say. If you think that, Trump just happened to get shot at by some 22-year-old loner in the middle of a field in Pennsylvania, and he was able to just, walk calmly with his gun, get up on some roof amongst an entire army of Social Security, Secret Service and police, and just take a shot, and he was the only one involved, fine. Yeah, just a coincidence. Yeah, nope, don't worry about it. You might be right. I may be making something up because I think too much, and I've been through much to realize that something like that could happen. You probably are the same type of people who think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only one involved in Kennedy's assassination, and understand that they've kept all the information hidden for 60 years. Because, they just didn't want people to be offended. There was nothing in there that was going to corroborate anything that people said. Same thing with RFK Sr. There's nothing for you to wonder about. How about Martin Luther King? Oh, that's right, James Earl Ray. He was just a bad dude. You people are idiots. If you're not willing to just dig just a little bit behind the surface, and start reading on your own. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to 60 Minutes. You see a story and go, Aurora, what's going on in Aurora? Let me see what I can find out. Let me dig into this and see what I can. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm seeing police recordings. I'm seeing people that writing articles. Blah, 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 blah. And judge for yourself. There's no such thing as clickbait. It's just idiots who don't know the difference. Sorry, I digress. Amen, Barry. This is real. It's at some point people have to wake up and realize that most so-called conspiracy theories are theories that came true. You just don't know about them. There are very few conspiracy theories that the information is not out there in reality. See, it's easy to label something a conspiracy theory because there are so many people who accept the truth. Remember, we all grew up in a time where the guy on the news at the end of his broadcast would say, and that's the news for today. That's it. That's all you need to know. I'll see you at 11. Nothing's going to happen between 6 and 11, and basically I'll let you know. That's the way it is. Some of you may not even know who I'm talking about. Go look up That's the Way It Is. That was the closing line of the #1 anchorman in television for decades. And there was nothing else for you to look up because there was nowhere else you could go to look it up. And that's why they want to stop X and Facebook and these networks, because now you do have ability to go look it up. Now you can figure out what exactly happened. Don't take my word or Trump's word for what he said today about E. Jean Carroll. Go look it up. Yes, you're going to see a bunch of stuff here. You're going to see a bunch of stuff there. You have to be able to discern when you see all this stuff. Don't believe me that Jack Smith has spent $35 million prosecuting Trump. Go look it up. It's federal records. Information is out there. It's a presentation that people have a problem with because they think they're being clickbaited or lied. Yeah, there are some people who do that. Hey, check out the three-headed Martian. I got pictures. And it's BS. I'm not BSing you. Minnie Mink said, every single conspiracy theory and everything Trump said has come true. Dems can never come up with the facts. One of the things he said as recently as his interview with Sean Hannity, and the news freaked out. You guys who saw it with me, I can tell you one quick conspiracy theory right now. Trump said, and I quote, all of the new jobs that are being created are going to newcomers. And then very next day, the entirety of the news business screamed at Trump for saying fake news. Guess what we found out today? And you're going to find out at 7 p.m. Yesterday, the Associated Press, AP, the Associated Propaganda Network, said that J.D. Vance said X, Y, and Z. Never even heard it. Didn't even read it. They got their marching orders from Kamala Harris. Oh, they had to delete what they posted after it got 2.5 million views. We are in a war, whether you like it or not. I didn't put us there. I'm just happen to be one who's talking about it. Some people are comfortable. They don't care. They want to be commies. I don't want to be a commie. I got a daughter. I got grandkids. I got a wife. I got a sleeping chihuahua sitting next to me. I care what happens next. And I fear that this country won't. I got to jump because I got to get lunch, and I got to see if we can do that show at 2:30. But 7 o'clock p.m., make sure you're here for that as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. I didn't get to go through all of the super chats, though. I got to do that. Hold on. I promised everybody I would make sure that I always do this because it's very important, and I never, ever want to take for granted what you guys do and how you support this channel and how it really matters. So bear with me, as before I go, I'm gonna I want to talk to everybody about what these fine people have done. So let's do this. Okay, Love USA, $10. Everybody should watch yesterday's Steven Crowder on Rumble. DOJ chief admits Trump indictments, politically motivated abuse of justice. You got to watch it. I'm terrified of putting it up here because the guys upstairs may blink it off and tell me I can't show it to you. But when you see it, there goes another conspiracy theory out the window. Trump is innocent. Lisa Bell says, thank you. Ruth McCurdy, women making false charges damage real victims. Ruth, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. When's the next woman who actually something happens to her comes out? It's unbelievable. B-level. Hostile judges should be disbarred. Women utilizing false accusations should be sued for defamation. And there's another thing to what you just said. Judge shopping. When you know you can take a case against a Republican into Manhattan or to Washington or to California, so you know you're going to have a tainted jury pool, it is no longer a jury of your peers. It is no longer a judge who just wants to have equity. You know at this point, the deck is stacked against you. Stacy, thank you. The rumors are carried by haters, spread by fools, accepted by idiots. Great saying. DKK, I'm not even in American years. See the Dems would literally kill and lie to prevent Trump 2024. They are doing that. Elsie, I trust President Trump. Stacy, again, thank you. Rios, Family Garden. Dear Lord, we ask that you watch over President Trump and his family. Please keep them safe and sound from harm under your protection. We trust in you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you, Ingrid. Captain's Log, 1979, no spin. That is until money signs. Money, it's all about money. Ron Allen, the length these people go to really show how desperate they really are. Yep. Yeah. Elena, thank you. Mark, the case against Trump is nothing more than a case against you and I. Trump is just in the way. I wish more people believe that. Because you have to understand, whatever they're trying to do to Elon Musk, whatever they're trying to do to Trump, they're just getting comfortable, getting ready so they know how easy it is to go after you. And you should watch what happened to Benny and Dave Rubin and Tim Pool. All you have to do is mention, hey, I think Fred takes money from the Russians. Oh, he's a Russian plant, Russian puppet. Love USA. Everybody, please donate to Trump's campaign. Just Google Trump's official campaign and donate to Trump. So if you want to donate to Trump, make sure you're on the right website. It's DonaldJTrump.com. That way you're not going to put your money someplace where it's not. Lori, all lies to discredit. They are scared like 2016. They should be. Love USA. I've donated many times to Trump, everybody, even if just $1. If millions of us do it, we will be millions of dollars for Trump. You know, it's funny how they complain sometimes that people donate money to help his legal fund, the legal fund that they are taking his money from to keep suing him and doing everything else. They don't want this man free. I hope we don't find out that they put him in jail on the 18th. From now on, let's not call pre-Trump a felon. Even if we say it, we'll vote for a felon because Dems want the felons to stuck on his mind. I agree with that. Dr. Saylor, lying Kamala and Sleepy Joe make inflation. Thank you, Bridget. LC, Trump is a force of nature. Indeed, he is. Man, at that age, having the kind of energy he has. Stacy, interview with G. Edward Griffin. There's a long-term plan by Russia to defeat America through psychological warfare and demoralization. You know what's amazing is that a lot of people don't realize we're at war because they don't see bullets and bombs dropping. We're at war. We are definitely at war. And in my mind, it's almost a civil war. Faith Taylor, Barry has the best poll data breakdown. See y'all tonight. Thank you. Make sure 7 p.m. tonight. And I'll put up the billboard in the next 30 minutes or so. Chicanos for Trump. Yes, Mike. Man, Trump is a hero going through all this on our behalf. Stands to gain, nothing. Stands to lose, everything, including his life. Fight, fight, fight. Stan Williams, bless you and your family, Barry. Thank you. Praying for all the Lord's warriors from Australia. Bruce Rice, thank you. Catherine, they tried to kill him. God is on your side, President Trump. Stay prayerful and confident. Dems are ridiculous and so transparent. We love you. You know, the thing is, I almost think that they know they're fighting for their political life as well. He gets in. God willing, everything goes the right way. It's time for this entire party to be disbanded. Just not beat, but stomped. Stomped, voted into oblivion. All of them. Chuck Schumer, you're scum. Elizabeth Warren, you're scum. I'm done with it. Completely done with you trying to destroy America. Giza Moonshadow, Jack Smith's wife, worked with Michelle Obama. It's all incestuous. JD, thank you. Toy Wood, thank you very much. Bear, do you think Putin wants Trump to be president? In pure honesty, and I do mean this clearly, I don't think Vladimir Putin really cares who's president. And why do I say that? Is because I think that's a conjecture of the media. He's pretty much entranced in being the leader of Russia. Xi Jinping is the leader of China. They don't really care what the leader of the United States is going to do because of one thing. They're either going to pay tariffs or they're not. That's it. I don't think they fear any global nuclear war threat because they know we're not going to push a button. And pretty much, I think we can feel comfortable that they're not going to push a button. So it's all about, hey, listen, where can I make the most money? And I think it's going to be one of those things where the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And because, think about it this way. If the United States goes back to basically pushing hard against Iran, who benefits? Russia. Stop these nut jobs because I know this enemy over here isn't going to go crazy. As I mentioned yesterday, Xi Jinping and the Rocket Man and Putin all know they have too much to lose, and it's based upon financial and consolidated power. They don't want to see their countries go up in smoke. The nut jobs over in Iran, it's ideological. They don't care. They're willing to basically slay the infidels. They don't care if their country goes down as well because they can be martyrs. It's not the same as the other world powers. A world power wants to stay a world power. Iran probably doesn't really care. They're willing to go away and be dust because they're fighting for something different. And that's why they're such a hard enemy to understand, is because conventional means of negotiation, as you're seeing right now, don't matter. When's the last time you saw Russia take in, fly some kites in and jump in and do what they did to innocent people? Nope. When's the last time you seen China do that? I'll wait. When's the last time you seen North Korea do that? Nope. Those people over there, they're the ones that want to fly planes into buildings and kites into music festivals and basically do whatever they can to civilians. There was nobody that they went after had a uniform on. So that's my answer there. What do you think about Lichtman predicting Harris will win? I will be doing extensive information on Lichtman at 7 p.m. Barry, please look up Alexandrovich Bezmenov. Okay, let me go ahead and copy that. So, Yuri, I will do that. Thank you very much. You can actually see their evil souls in their eyes. It's crazy. Their faces change as hate spews from their mouths. Yeah, you can. Where am I here? Hey, Mr. Heath, YouTube not letting me say, but Brett Weinstein on X, Rescue the Weed Republic. I did a video on the Weinsteins. Absolutely. Barry, make Eric Tate a mod. He can help. Solid, one of the best. Eric Tate? Go ahead and email me. Tres Leches cake is a Mexican dessert using 3 different milk products. Not sure why anyone would have reason to get their feelings hurt. I know, but it's a Cuban dessert. And I'm down here with a lot of Cubans, which I love. And even tying them into a Venezuelan nut job group of gang members probably pissing people off. That's up the real dog. Salute, Barry. Keep up the great work, bro. Salute, chat. We need to talk. Let's do a collab, bro. Let's see here. Thing 2, as an SA survivor, this is disgusting. You never forget when or where you were assaulted. Never. Many, and hold on, I'm going to come back to that. And Bill Van Bulkum, thank you very much. You know what you just said there, that as an SA survivor, you never forget the place, when it happened, how it happened. I have met women in my life. I've had relatives who something has happened. You are 100% right. It's weird because it may have happened 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and it's like a scab that never heals. There's a Band-Aid over it, but if you hit that scab, the tears flow, the feelings. I've seen women shake in front of me, even recalling what happened. And so for E. Jean Carroll to make fun of it, say she's going to go and buy pocketbooks, I'm sorry, it doesn't jive with the women that I've known who I've had to talk to and try to console and embrace, who've had SA happen to them. And it's a damn shame that we have to say SA. Seriously, guys, we can't say what that's all about. Amazing. I mean, it just goes the censorship and what we can and can't say and how we can't say it is just crazy. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. And ladies, I said guys, I meant everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. See you. If I can get the feed for the 2:30, I'll do it. If not, definitely see you at 7 p.m. Don't miss that show. Talk to you soon.